Success does not come easy. This is the story of that not easy success. Hi everybody, my name is Craig. You may remember me as Stuttering Craig from back in the old ScrewAttack days. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor, please hit the subscribe button and hit the old thumbs up button because that's good on YouTube. And subscriptions are great because I'm going to be telling stories about my history, the internet itself as a whole, and the story of ScrewAttack and everything else that goes along with it along the way, friends and all that fun stuff. So if you like to hear those stories, once again, hit the subscribe button. So this video is all about GameTrailers, and I know a lot of you guys got to know ScrewAttack through GameTrailers. You got to meet the nerd for the first time through GameTrailers. GameTrailers was an outstanding platform and just partnership for ScrewAttack. It did wonders for ScrewAttack. But how did that actually come to be? Well, for it to actually come to be, there actually had to be a lot of things lead up to that. So ScrewAttack launched February 15th, 2006. And pretty much right then, after a few months, I told the story about how ScrewAttack launched previously. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you go watch that video. But the long and short of it was the first, I don't know, so eight or so months of ScrewAttack was me sending emails to people saying, hey, I would love to work with you. We do these videos and we'd love to find a way to work together. And a lot of cold emails. And a cold email is when you don't know anybody there. You're sending these emails into a big abyss, hoping that you get a response. And I sent a lot of cold emails saying, hey, this is who we are. And you got to remember, back in 2006, the idea of making content online was not something that was readily and widely accepted. Like Mega64 was doing it. Pure Ponage was doing it. Pure Onage. I don't even know how to say that name, but those guys were outstanding. There's very few people out there that were actually making content online for a living. And ScrewAttack was new to the space. So I sent emails to IGN, GameTrailers, anybody that would listen, anybody, and they all said no. Or I just didn't hear back. Or, maybe it's not the right time. Until I heard back from a company called GameVideos.com. And there's a guy named Mark McDonald. And I don't know if Mark remembers who I am, but I remember Mark. Because Mark gave ScrewAttack and me the first opportunity to be successful. Mark worked for GameVideos.com. And GameVideos was like a subsidiary of OneUp.com, which OneUp was a big website back in the day. And I said, this is what we do. And he goes, yeah, sure. Well, let's try it out. What do you guys do? And I spent from that email, from the time I got that email to the following day, I wrote, produced, and did our first ever ScrewAttack Top 10. And I turned it around. I think it was ScrewAttack's Top 10 Worst Ways to Die, I think it was. And it was the first one we did, and I did it like all myself. I turned it around and I said, this is what we do. And I presented it to him. He's like, well, that works quick. And we posted it on GameVideos.com, and it went kind of viral before viral was a thing. It got passed around the internet. It got put on Kotaku, and Destructoid was new, and Joystick, and all these different websites that were popular at the time. And I think it did 250,000 views. And I remember refreshing the page and being like, oh my gosh, this is massive. This is huge. I can't even fathom what's happening right now. So we did a second one, which was top 10 worst ways to die. Or I'm sure I'm getting the order of those mixed up, but so we did a couple of them, and that one did outstanding as well. So I'm starting to talk to Game Videos about what else can we do to work together. And the PlayStation 3 is about to launch. Remember, this is 2006, late 2006 at the time. The PlayStation 3 is about to launch, and I come up with the idea of doing this thing called the launch line for charity. The launch line for charity was this thing where I would stay in line for a week for the PlayStation 3, stand outside like a local Best Buy, and then I would buy a PlayStation 3 and like the 5 most anticipated games, and then I would turn around and sell it on eBay, and then give that money to Child's Play. And remember, the PlayStation 3 was going to be they were going to sell out. This was going to be a major deal, and I did this. So we scheduled it, and the idea was I was going to do these video blogs. Or vlogs. And you got to remember, this is not the time where you had your phone out and you're like, hey, this is me, I'm hanging over here. And this is a camcorder, I'm editing on my laptop, and all that stuff. So we decided we're going to do this for a week. Awesome. Keep that here. This is all very, very important to how GameTrailers happens. So we had these two massive top 10s. We got this thing called the launch line for charity ready to happen. And in between our second top 10 and the launch line for charity getting ready to happen, Guess who comes calling? GameTrailers. GameTrailers, they email me and they say, hey, so about that, we saw your videos on game videos. We saw your game videos on game videos, and we think it'd be fun to work together. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds fun. Let's have a meeting to talk about it. They said, well, how about you come out to LA? We're in Dallas. How about you come out to LA and we'll see if it's worth talking about. Even better, how about you come out to our end of the year party we're gonna have, and then we'll get together and we can discuss to see if this will work. Great. When is it? They gave us the date. I don't remember what it was. And I look on the calendar, and that date is squarely right in the middle of the launch line for charity. I'm going to be sitting outside of a Best Buy for 5 days, and I think it's like the third day into the launch line for charity. So I'm like, oh gosh, of course. And you got to remember, it's me and Tom at the time. So I was like, well, Tom, how about you go out to LA and go talk to them and see if it's a good idea. See if it's something that we want to do. Of course, we want, if they're going to pay us any money to make any content, of course we want to do it, right? But just to see if they're cool people or whatever. So I was like, okay, Tom, you go out to LA and you go to this party and see what's happening. I'll do the launch line. I committed to that. I'm going to make sure that make that happen. So during that time, I'm like, oh, by the way, where is this? Where's your party at? And they go, oh, it's at the Playboy Mansion. So just a quick backtrack. I will be staying in line in the freezing cold for 5 days as I send Tom out to Los Angeles to go to the Playboy Mansion for the GameTrailers / MTV end of the year shindig. And I remember being there, and I remember just being so cold and thinking like, man, TJ was what I call Tom. TJ's having such a good time. Golly, I'm just and I'm sitting here just freezing my nads off right here. So he comes back and I'm like, I give him a call. I'm like, well, how'd it go? And he goes, oh, it was awesome. It was so cool. And he comes back with all these photos, and he's got these girls are like, he's got this one picture. I can't show it to you obviously, but he's got this one picture of this guy in a full suit in this grotto hanging out with these two lovely ladies on the outside with their tops off. And this guy's in a full suit and he's just like, and I just thought that was so funny. And I'm over here freezing, waiting for the PlayStation 3 to launch. Anyways, so they meet Tom meets them, and they're like, yeah, okay, cool. Let's work together. So I kind of negotiate this deal, and they want our top 10s, our video game vaults, and the angry video game nerd, who was obviously a partner with ScrewAttack, to come along over to GameTrailers. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I talked to James, like, hey James, do you have any interest? They're gonna pay us because remember, no one's making any money at this time. James, they're going to pay us money to make content. And he was like, yes, of course. So we make this deal. And once again, we have a deal with GameTrailers. We've signed a contract with GameTrailers, and but keep in mind, like, our relationship with James is still just like a high five, essentially, just a handshake. We don't have any like proper deal. And but what they pay us, I pay James one for every penny they pay us for James's content. James gets 1 penny. I mean, literally every single cent that they gave us for James, I gave right to James, because James deserved it. I just happened to be the broker of that deal that took 0%, which looking back on it was pretty stupid. But at the same time, it was a good opportunity. So we announced we're going to start working with GameTrailers. I remember going to Mark over at Game Videos and saying, like, look, we really like working with you guys. GameTrailers came to us with this offer. I want to give you the first opportunity to match it. And he goes, look, man, you need to do what you need to do. And I always appreciated that. And that was a big lesson for me, just the idea of like, look, just be honest with people. Just be honest with people and tell them what the situation is. And I did. And Mark was like, look, you need to do what you need to do. And it worked out awesome, right? Because, while we didn't do anything with game videos from there on out, because we were working with GameTrailers, it just left everybody with an okay taste in their mouth, which is really important for me. I want to make sure that the business relationships are good. Now, hold on one second. I watched through these things and I realized there's a few things that I left out that I think you may actually be interested in hearing. When we signed our deal with GameTrailers, which was amazing, part of the deal was they wanted to bring us out to Los Angeles and actually do like some interviews with us. They actually paid for our flights to go out there. So it was me, Tom, and James went out there, and we got interviewed by Amanda McKay. And I think Jeff Keighley actually interviewed us as well for the TV show they had there. I don't think that ever aired though, but that was really, really cool. And I remember we actually had footage of it, and it was the first time I'd ever worn makeup. I felt so big, such a big deal wearing makeup for the first time. But I remember that being just an incredibly cool experience, going out to LA, going out to the Viacom MTV offices in beautiful Los Angeles, and then going in and doing these in a real studio and being interviewed. It was like, whoa, big deal. So we work with GameTrailers, and I remember being really nervous for our first video game vault to hit. I think the first video game vault was like Rystar or something like that on the Sega Genesis. Maybe that was either that or maybe Rystar was the last video game vault on ScrewAttack before we went to. But I remember that was a really big video game vault for me just personally. But I remember posting these vaults on GameTrailers, and they had a special ScrewAttack section on GameTrailers with us listed on their main navigation, which was a really big deal. Like I want to make sure that we were able to be found, and boy were we found. We did gangbusters on GameTrailers. We were their most popular feature, their most popular show. They had all these outstandingly produced shows. They had, Pop Fiction, and they had a Bonus Round, and all these shows that were really big at the time. And you remember GameTrailers, they're owned by MTV and Viacom at the time. They have this giant office and a big old studio. This is like, man, we made it. And all the ScrewAttack stuff is just working. Everything we did, the vaults, the top 10s, they're all just doing gangbusters. I mean, I remember posting a vault, and our average vault was doing like 250 to 300,000 views per episode. And once again, this is like 2007, 2008, 2009, and it was amazing. And our average top 10 is doing like 500,000, 750,000 views, and occasionally they get up to 1 million, 2 million views. And the nerd episodes are doing million views an episode, 2 million views an episode. And it was crazy. It was awesome. And it was such a great partnership for us. And we initially signed a 1-year deal, and that obviously extended that out. We extended it every year, like a year after year deal. And we were never public with any of that stuff, but it really worked out. And so we had a really great 5-year partnership with GameTrailers, where we provided content for them. They paid us content. And it was almost like a TV network paying a production company to produce a TV show. Like, if you're watching a show on NBC or Fox, they don't produce all that stuff in-house. They pay production companies to produce it. And that's essentially the relationship that we had with GameTrailers. But GameTrailers, through us collaborating with them, really allowed us the opportunity to grow, and they provided us a platform, and it was a really great win-win for everybody. All right, another cut-in. Sorry, you heard me mention collaboration on this, and I'm going to let you guys know about my new project I'm working on. I know a lot of you guys have followed me throughout the years, but my new project is called Collaborator Club. If you are a creator of any kind, whether it's on Twitch or on YouTube, you have 1 subscriber or 1 million subscribers, I highly suggest you head over to collaboratorclub.com and check it out. The best way to grow, period, is through working with other people. Share your audience. This is not a competition. The algorithm will not help you. Titles, thumbnails, they're all great, but working together will always help you grow the best and most consistently. It's amazing. So that's what Collaborator Club is all about. Allowing you to find people you want to work with so you can then grow together. As a matter of fact, you can actually invest in my company now. There's a link down below in the description and the pinned comment if you guys want to go check that out. There's also the link. You can see it on the screen right now because I edited it in. So, all right, back to the story. So we had this great 5-year relationship with GameTrailers, and GameTrailers had a really big part in us getting going and launching ScrewAttack and putting a little rocket fuel on us and allowing us the opportunity to not just make a living, but grow, which was very important. I mean, you need to keep in mind that our website made no money. Like, we didn't make anything off our website. Merchandise made a little bit, but really the eyes that GameTrailers provided us allowed us to do everything else that we wanted to do. The clip of the weeks, the random awesomeness, the day in the lives, and all the other series, the Jose's Puntos and the VGRs, all the other things that you saw in ScrewAttack, that we could not have done that without GameTrailers backing us and paying us to produce the vaults and the top 10s and everything else. It's kind of like, if in a weird way, it's kind of like college football and college basketball, how they bring in all this revenue and it's dispersed through all the other sports. It's kind of like that, right? If I can bring it back to United States sports. So after 5 years, we had this great relationship, and this was 2012 at the time. And the internet had changed. YouTube had become a very big thing at the time, and GameTrailers traffic had kind of it had suffered from it. And I remember going to GameTrailers and being like, "Hey, we'd like to continue working with you guys," but they said we would too. So they offered us a really amazing deal at the time. Now, keep in mind, our team is not very big. We don't have a big team. And this was definitely one of the major moments in the lifespan of ScrewAttack, where they offered us a deal that was worth 5 years and $250,000 a year. So it was a 5-year deal worth essentially $1.25 million, which sounds like a lot of money. And it is a lot of money. But you got to remember what that would essentially do. If you're essentially saying your company is going to make $250,000 a year, which when you have 8, 9 employees is not a lot. It does not allow for really anything to allow you any opportunity to grow. Doesn't allow you. So I remember getting that deal and I was like, wow, that's really, really awesome. I mean, guaranteed revenue. Like, that's amazing. Now there's no back end. There's no incentives. It's just like, here's what you're going to make. We're going to pay you to make vaults and top 10s. And I think they obviously they wanted the nerd to be a part of it as well. And they said, here's the opportunity. And that's pretty much the best we can do right now, because the internet's changing and things are different. And I remember having this deal, and I mentioned the word transparency. I was very transparent with the guys, with the team at ScrewAttack. I remember we went to Wendy's one day, and I said, look, we got to have a team meeting. So we went to Wendy's one day, and I said, look, we have an offer on the table from GameTrailers. And I told them the exact same thing that I told you. It's a 5-year deal, $250,000 a year. And essentially what that does, it allows us to do what we're doing for the next 5 years. And we're safe. We're safe for 5 years. But we can't really grow. We can't really do anything else. But if you want to do this for the next 5 years and make top 10s and vaults and we can do that. That's fine. And I said, or we can go all in and we can try to grow and sell the company. And I said, this is not my decision. This needs to be our decision. And I remember asking everybody, I said, what do you want to do? And to a T, every single person said they wanted to go all in. And, they didn't want to go the safe route. They wanted to go big. And the idea of, the attempt is selling the company. Because we had grown to a point where we've been doing it for so long, and we didn't have insurance. We didn't have all these basic things that we needed to run as a company. And that was the whole idea of going in and attempting to sell the company. But that is a story for another time. So eventually we ended up telling GameTrailers, thank you so much for the last 5 years. We really appreciate it, but we're going to try to do our own thing from here on out. And we then shifted our focus to YouTube. And then more things happened, which once again, I'm going to be telling you guys all about this stuff. That 5-year period, so much happened in there, which I didn't touch on. Remember, this is only about our relationship with GameTrailers. One last little side note here. The irony of the whole 5-year deal is that had we signed the 5-year deal, I don't know what would have happened, because ScrewAttack actually outlived GameTrailers, which is crazy to think about. So I don't know what would have happened there had we signed that deal. We probably would have ended actually sooner, and Full Screen never would have happened, and then Rooster Teeth. And you think about all these things, it's just crazy how that decision impacted everything else and what would have happened. But really interesting. I got so many more stories to tell you about. I got to tell you about how I met Ben and Nick and Jose, and what really happened to Tom, and all these other stories. So once again, if you're new, hit the subscribe button, and do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate you guys allowing me to tell you these stories. And once again, make sure you subscribe, because I do this and I do reaction videos to classic ScrewAttack videos here as well as I'm playing through the entire NES library from A to Z, and they will all be on this channel. So if you guys are into that as well, make sure you guys do that. So appreciate you guys popping in. Hopefully you guys watch more videos. They're good for you. And have a great day. Bye-bye.